Now, while we were backstage, one of the questions that Hiro asked, wow, so how was the movie received by tonight's audience? So since he didn't get a chance to hear your reaction, why don't you show him what you thought about the movie?
Wow, it's amazing. Thank you, thank you. Oh, more than I expected. And I'm so happy. I have no words.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to hearing more of your thoughts tonight. I want to start with Justin Marks, the showrunner. So this is a long time in the making, 5 years that he and Rachel spent. I've understood that you've always had a yen for Japan. I want to know, Justin, what drew you to Shogun? Did you ever have any reservations about this huge mammoth project for something that took so long?
Yeah. Whoa. Here I am. I think that Rachel and I were of the generation that for whom this book was really, the book on everyone's parents' nightstands. It was neither the book nor the original adaptation in 1980 were cultural events that we experienced directly. But what we were aware of when it came to Shogun was the silhouette of the novel and the legacy of the novel. And by that I mean a silhouette of this kind of stranger in a strange land story, being seen through a lens that was in some ways European in nature. And I think we were pretty conflicted about that story right now, not from a place of even representation. That's not something that I can speak to directly, but I think where my concern was from a place of storytelling. Was this anything, had we seen this before? That was always what we were concerned with. As writers, I feel like we're always in search of new cliches and not wanting to tell the, kind of cliches that we've seen. And so, then we read the book, and turns out the book is wonderful. It's an amazing story. It's a thrilling story. And it's a very modern story. What James Clavell was reaching for about how we encounter other cultures, how we encounter ourselves, how we do or don't find a place of belonging within these cultures, I think is a really important story to tell today. And so, it was at that point that I think we decided we need to dive in.
And you mentioned, looking at it through a Western eye, and that resonated with me because when I thought about the original Shogun, I thought, wow, I can only recall Richard Chamberlain playing Blackthorn and Mariko because it was really seen through their eyes. And this one, when I saw especially episode 2, I saw Hiro's Lord Toranaga really with a new perspective of this age through Toranaga's eyes, and that seemed to be a different a way of looking at things compared to the original.
Yeah, and that was all the book. I mean, truly, the book is told from this multi-lens point of view, and we really saw an opportunity in that to say, audiences today are willing to accept more subtitles than ever before. Let's do it. Let's use language as a means of bringing our audiences closer to these characters, closer to the experience of living in this world. Cinema, television, it's uniquely transportive in that sense, and this could be a real immersive experience if done right.
And you're a producer on this one, not just an actor. What led you to decide to become a producer? And I understand a hands-on producer, and perhaps you were able to bring more of this other perspective into this series that the other may not have had.
Yeah, first of all, I just got the offer as an actor to play Toranaga. But after that, few years passed somehow. And then after Justin and Rachel joined to the project, they asked me to do the producing as well. And then I thought, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a great chance to introduce our culture to the world correctly. Finally. So I said yes, and then we've done our best with the Western crew and cast, Japanese crew and cast, working together and try to make authentic as much as possible. It was a great experience to me.
You said authentic. From what I understand, I was talking to the cast earlier. You had a lot of input. You've been modest. You didn't say what you actually, your impact on the show itself. But Anna, do you have any thoughts on what Hiro contributed as a producer? I understand he's really hands-on.
He was always there. I don't think I ever didn't see him. Even on days where I was like, I would just like to do this by myself. Like, he was always there, you know? And that helped tremendously because I don't know what I'm doing, but he does. And he can point out the things that I'm doing wrong. And not just him, but also the other people. But they would all listen to him. And I really have so much respect for you guys for trusting the Japanese team because it's so hard to do it when it's your baby. And you just allowed them to change things if it was necessary, and you guys were very respectful about that.
Change, for example, what? What did you see that, for example, Hiro or someone else point out, hey, that's not the way it's done, or this is the way it should be done? Maybe even something where you were acting. Was there something that...
That was so many, I don't know.
So many.
Oh, we're always adjusting things, but I
Such
think...
as?
Like on set, I remember there was something in the background. It's not like in focus, but the placement was different, and they were like, we need to move it to the side because it would never be in the center, and like they would have to change the whole set almost, redecorate it, change the camera angle, or, and that would take time.
Yeah, 'cause
But
there are a lot of rules and customs, especially in the palace setting, driven by hierarchy and customs. So, we were constantly having to adjust, where actors sit, where their koshos or, attendants would sit, or how they will move when they have to deliver a letter to one of the characters. Or it's small things, but everything has to be correct and everything has to be vetted by
everything
our
is,
expert.
it's so intentional. So there's nothing
Yeah.
that you can just casually do that was done in 1600. Everything is so different. And like, I don't know if it was the rehearsal or the first day I went on set, but it was a scene with Hiro-san, and I guess I was looking at his eyes like a normal person when I was talking to him. And I was corrected that I shouldn't be looking at his eyes. I had to be looking like at his throat. And I was like, what? Like, how am I supposed to make a connection with this person I'm talking to if I'm not looking him in his eyes? But you start getting used to that stuff. And he was very patient with me. I'm sure that he was like, oh my God, Anna, you're taking so much time. But yeah, no, he has so much patience.
And it was also, it would extend to the broader macro questions of what kinds of crew we needed to bring from Japan. These are things that from, again, the Hollywood lens, we don't really know. And like, why do we need someone who specializes in tying the obi? Why do we, can't we watch a YouTube video and kind of get that right? Well, let me tell you, after 48 hours of trying to do that ourselves, we had them on the plane coming to set. It's something that it takes a lifetime to do well, and not just well because here's how it is, but also what are the tricks? How can you tie it fast? How can you have it so that you can pull it quickly when the background needs to use the restroom and come back? All of these considerations that go through the production mechanism in Japan. This is what I think we always forget about. But those are the broader ones. And then there's also just, we played a game at Video Village throughout the shoot of Where's Hiro-san, because you just sit there on the monitor before they yelled action. And it would be anything, he's popping into frame to adjust a sword on someone's, waist, or just moving or give instructions about a bow and then pop out of frame when we were about to shoot. Or, you're looking and it's like you're looking in the bushes and there he is sticking his head up because, the ferns in British Columbia are like this big. And so you can't, they're not that big in Japan. And so we would have to bring other shrubbery to block it and move it around. And it was like the fern police.
Well, as Anna said, he's everywhere. Right?
Yeah.
But not only during production itself, it also extended into post-production. I mean, sound design. I mean, the sword coming out of a scabbard needed to sound like it was bamboo and not metal. Yeah, and that sounds very Western.
Like a JP sword.
Yeah, exactly. And these are our ears, our Western ears, are not attuned to this. We wouldn't even know. So it became, that was the theme of the production, was we don't even know what we don't know. Like that was the impetus behind getting out of the way.
I also add, even offset, he was always providing a lot of emotional support for, especially Japanese cast, who's never worked on non-Japanese shows, or one of the cast, he's never been outside of the country.
And this is vast majority
Yeah,
Japanese
most
cast.
of them, yeah, and crew as well. But he, always made sure they had his number, and he would make sure that they are welcome and make them comfortable, give them a rundown of how things and sets run differently and things like that. And I think that just meant the world to them. And I think
He also provided cardio support for Yuki, who, the actor who plays Nagakado, his son. There was one day when we looked and we saw him doing laps back and forth in his armor at Hiro-san standing there pointing
Happily
him back
doing
and
laps.
forth,
Eagerly
telling him to
doing
get down and
laps.
do more push-ups. And this 21-year-old actor was just doing it enthusiastically because he was listening to Toranaga.
Rachel, you talked about, for example, being attuned to culture. I was wondering, given your background as a Japanese American, that essay that I read in which you talked about
One of two people who read it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. No. It was a great essay about pidgin language as well. When this idea of Shogun came to you, what did you think? Do you think, hey, I'm Japanese American. I grew up in Hawaii. I got this. I know this culture. What did you learn through this process about Japanese culture, history, and also about yourself?
Wow, that's a... Well, how much time does everyone have? Well, Justin came to the project with boatloads of humility, and I came to the project with a lot of hubris. I thought to myself, wow, this is the perfect chance for me to, to speak to my culture and to speak to the culture I identify with the most. And so cool. I'm so excited. I'm gonna have so much to say. But then very quickly I had to learn that you know it intellectually, but you have to spiritually accept it, that being Japanese American, as we all know, especially being Japanese American born in Hawaii, is a completely different thing than being from Japan. And it, again, just kind of learning to kind of zero out and understand that this is such a great chance to learn from the masters, learn from the experts, learn from the historians. And so it was kind of a roundabout way to re-encounter what, and to kind of, I guess, make more dimensional my understanding of the culture I identify with. And the most personal thing for me was the privilege of getting to work with Anna as she was learning the character of Lady Mariko over time. And we would get into these talks about, what were we thinking about when we were writing this character? And we got to shoot in sequence, and so I felt like with every episode, we became deeper and more closely connected to these characters. And Anna is such a student of just excellence and and she never stops asking questions. And she extracted the inspiration out of me, which kind of circled back to my grandmother and her story. And this is a woman who was born in a sugarcane plantation camp and was a maid her whole life and died quite young. And here she is getting to come back and inform a performance as spectacular as Anna's. So it's all so surreal and gratifying.
So you learned through watching Anna. I remember, Hiro-san, earlier on, before the screening, you said in talking about Anna, only she could do it. Can you explain what you meant by that? Because she's not a person who has experience in historical period dramas.
Yeah, that's also helped this show because some actors who has experience to doing the samurai period drama, easy to use a technique which they learned or go to pattern or form. It's very easy to showing what I'm doing, but that's bothering for this show because we wanted to change the history of the samurai drama, not only for the world market, even in Japan too. Some boring pattern acting can make money, but that's choking Japanese industry itself. We needed to create the authentic drama, not only the historical part, acting, passion, emotion, had to be real. Not only authentic, what the word? Oh.
I don't know. Don't look at me.
Human, I think.
Oh, maybe organic.
Yeah.
Everything had to be organic on set in front of the camera. And plus, she had a great talent and effort and then learned a lot. Movement, Japanese traditional movement, how to wearing kimono, how to walk, how to turn with the long sleeve dress on time. Especially this is a TV show. Not like a luxury Kurosawa movie, waiting the cloudy day 3 days. That's a dream. But this is a TV show. But she prepared everything on time with the perfect English and Japanese. Oh, that's why I'm saying only she could do this role on the earth.
Anna, how does it feel?
You guys, this is the last time we're talking about this until our show is released, so it's a very special day for us. And I wish I could talk about everyone for 10 minutes, but we really don't have the time. But I just want to say, truly, this is the family. And I only was working on this for about 10 months shooting it, a year after I, booked the role. But these guys poured years and years of hard work, everything. I feel like maybe your marriage was on stake because of this show. I don't know, but it was that hard, Honestly, they worked so hard, and I really hope that it shows because it's such a good show. I'm so proud of it.
Thank you, Anna. And Eriko, there's a lot of work in this involved, partly because of translations. And I know one of your credits happens to be Lost in Translation, but given what your
Ironic.
company does and your specialty, and given the complexity, you have a majority Japanese cast, you're striving for authenticity. Tell us how the translation process worked with a novel written in English by James Clavell, a script written by Justin and Rachel in English, and yet having to have it translated correctly in Japan, and the adjustments made. Walk us through that process.
Well, I think like everything else on the show, it's a lot of work, collaboration between East and West. So, it was written, it was translated, and then, dialogue has to be correct and best as it can be, and really capturing all the beautiful lines that is written by brilliant writers. So it's translated, and then it goes to our wonderful Japanese polisher. Her name is Kyoko Moriwaki, and she's based in Japan, and she has a lot of experience with Japanese period shows. So she would polish them and make them Japanese period, but also natural, realistic for a human being to speak. And then that would come back to us, and then we would polish again and again. Keep polishing,
So many times.
Yeah. Like Hiro is so experienced with samurai period shows, and then Anna really has a handle of her roles, and I think we kept polishing until we're rolling, as we're rolling, and throughout post-production we kept just pushing and make sure it's as good as it can be.
We're running out of time, but quickly I want to ask a question. Anyone here make any cameo appearances on this film? Oh, what's that? You?
They're so happy
You
to
did?
answer this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, well, all
Yeah.
of us.
Hard
of us,
to
all of us.
quickly,
find,
where
but
can we find each of you, or whoever did it? I don't know who did
Well,
it.
I'm easy because you can find my corpse in the very first scene of the show as Omi steps over my dead body on the deck of the Erasmus,
Whoa.
Which we shot on the last day of production. And so it was my best chance to finally have a good nap on set.
Permanent. Eriko?
Episode
Well.
8
Oh.
with Rachel. We're co-starring.
Oh.
Very
Can we go
difficult
into it, or is
roles.
it a-
very, very, very complex roles?
Yeah, we worked really
they
hard on
heavy?
it.
Are we able?
We had
can you
fittings.
Say it.
Yeah, I think just
Yeah,
spoiler,
spoilers.
but
No
it's
spoilers.
Experienced prostitute number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Experienced prostitute number 2.
but they have
and director
names.
Emmanuel was directed us.
Yes.
Thank you for your great
Thank you,
direction,
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel. That was
Don't blink. Episode 108. Don't blink. You'll miss us.
Don't
maybe
miss
2
it.
seconds.
I remember episode 8. That's what to look out for. And now you're looking at the clock. It's almost time to end this thing. We're now 27 and a half hours away from the debut of Shogun on FX.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. And so I'm sure you thought as I did, having looked at the first 2 episodes, one word, if there's one takeaway, and based on what the cast said, it's perhaps authenticity with this version of Shogun. And with that, I want to thank our panelists for this great discussion. Let's give another warm round of applause.
Thank you. ありがとうございました。